when you have a tome, you can either use it in battle and it consumes the tome, or you can use the tome to teach the spell to a character. And I used the flame tome to get out of a fight. That was a lot harder than I had anticipated. And, so that's gone. But that's okay. I'm sure I'll find that fire tome again somewhere else. Probably buy it in a shop or something. Escapade? So I know one of my rules in the channel is no backseating and spoiler and stuff like that, but Shihai, I don't think that's fair for Final Fantasy 2 because this game's really weird and it's off the rails. So if you see me doing something stupid, feel free to give me friendly tips and advice. I here respect my time as I put all my skill points into basket weaving, and stupid unbalanced game won't let me beat the final boss without attack skills. Right. And my point is, really with respect my time, is don't let me get so far into the game to find out that I've been playing your game wrong the whole time than the way you intended it to. So this conversation came up yesterday as we were playing Darkest Dungeon, and it was their intent that you level up your heroes as you play the game, but then you can't train up new heroes when you recruit new level 1s or level 0s in that game to the party, to your roster. The dungeon stops spawning level 0, level 1 missions to take those guys on to level them up. So there is a situation that you could get yourself stuck in Darkest Dungeon, where you level up these teams, and then you get them all killed at the end of the game, and then you have nothing but level 5 missions in your dungeons. But you have a roster filled with level 0s who get auto-killed as soon as they go into those level 5 missions, and you get stuck. You basically can pour like 30 hours into that game and then get stuck at a point where you can't progress anymore. So that's kind of what I was talking about with respect my time, is don't let me get 30 hours into your game to find out that I fucked up and I can't fix it. Basically, that the game needs to be tightly constrained so you can't make a serious mistake, which is opposite of FS2's designer philosophy. I mean, I don't want it to be linear, and I don't want it to be constrained. It has a cult following. Yeah, it's definitely not mainstream. I mean, everybody online really is pretty unilaterally talking trash about it. But I find it charming. I like the system. And I don't know what the issue is at the end of the game, because clearly I haven't gotten that far. But it seems that everybody's problem is the game is fine if you kind of, play Final Fantasy like Final Fantasy. You run around, you level up. The game runs fine, and then you get to the end, and you need to be more magic heavy or have more hit points, whatever the case may be. And you have to go back and kind of fix your characters to make it work, is just what I've been hearing people complain about. But the only thing they would have to change to make it feel like my time's being more respected, and I'll see when we get there, so I might have a different opinion once I've actually played it, is that the monster isn't, if it's the boss is like resistant to physical damage, like that's the kind of thing. Yeah, like I was saying, if you got any specifically for Final Fantasy 2, because with the Final Fantasy challenge that I'm doing, I'm trying not to waste too much time. I want to get into the later games that really attract viewers. So, I don't want to put 40 hours into this game and then have to put another 20 hours in it to fix it, and it just takes me forever to get out of Final Fantasy 2. So, any friendly advice you got, I'm open to it for specifically this game. But again, I don't know what the end of the game looks like, and that's what everybody's complaint is. Monster damage goes up way faster than your HP or your defense rating. You cannot afford to ignore evasion. Okay. And that's done with a shield, right? Everybody online was saying that you level up evasion with shields. Let's not do that yet. Alright, potions. Let's get at least that up to 8. Must buy shield and light armor. Hey there, Arsic92. Your guys' name in my chat is very close to each other, so I thought that was just she talking. So that's what that's what I'm getting at. So like you have to have. See, and I might be missing it because you know a lot of these older games had a lot of information was in the instruction manual with these older NES games, and you know you don't get a hold of those instruction manuals, so that might be part of the complaint people have today. A lot of players who started FF7 are a little too smart for their own good instead of going for all-out offense. Well, starting in Final Fantasy, I'd say probably 3, American 3. The game starts letting you kind of like smash, like you just can just pummel through bosses. So, which is FF6. This is a few games before it gets there. But yeah, so what I was saying is I think a lot of people's complaints is like you played Final Fantasy 1 and it kind of taught you kind of how they wanted you to play the game, and then when you go into Final Fantasy 2 they changed the rules so much without explaining it. Now I could be wrong about that because I don't have the instruction manual for 1. I've played Breath of Fire. Man, if you guys ever played Breath of Fire on the SNES, if you don't have the manual, you can't play the game. Like the game is in the manual, you know what I mean? So that could be the case for Final Fantasy 2, so I may not know that. But if they don't tell you, like, hey, you know, you're going to want to level up evasion or something, I don't know how they would blatantly say that, but letting you know that this game's different. So at least you can look for it. As gamers, we do a lot of retaining information. A good example of that is very early on in the PlayStation 3 era, Uncharted started painting edges of cliffs that you could climb. Started painting the edges white. And other games adopted that to where you kind of just know that different color ledges is something you can climb. And games that have nothing to do with Uncharted now have adopted that. So you kind of, like, playing other games helps you play newer games, right? And I think that's probably what everybody online is upset about, is that they got educated on how to play a Final Fantasy game a certain way. Actually, he just told me to go buy light armor and shields, and I'm sitting here talking, and I completely fucking forgot to go do it. You get used to playing it a certain way, and then you come into this game and it plays differently, and that's upsetting for folks, you know? This game's UI stayed in NES era, even on PSP. Yeah, it did. Basically, every time you change gear, it expects you to watch status screen like a hawk. Yeah, see, that's kind of my stance. And unless they educate you into doing that, backporting FF7 concepts. Expand, what do you mean? Hi there, little Hardy, how you doing? Good morning. We want shields for everybody. More or less. And fucking Minwoo's not staying in the party. So should I even bother, like, caring about him? And can I put a shield on somebody who has a battle axe in their hand? Doing good. I can. Neat. You can't play FF2 by the rules of, let's say, FF4. Yeah, I gather that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if there is something in the manual... And again, my opinion of Final Fantasy II isn't solidified yet. When I beat this game, I'll give my opinion of the game. What I'm discussing right now is the opinion of basically you two guys, because you're the first two people I've met who enjoy Final Fantasy II. I'm not saying you guys are the only ones in the world, but you're the first two I've actually met. Versus the online consensus of that it's a poorly designed game, or it's crazy and it's out the window and nobody can make sense out of it. I don't have an opinion on either side of that fence yet, and I'll curate my own. But I had a fucking point. Oh, if there's something in the manual that tells you that this is going to be different from the other Final Fantasy games, then cool. But also, here's the thing too. It's the second Final Fantasy game, right? So like, that's kind of the problem that we're running into is people. So when you have a franchise that's run 15 games long, you establish a certain kind of expectation in your game series. Whether you want to or not, that is something that happens with the franchise. Now, that's the problem that we're discussing right there, is a lot of people come back to Final Fantasy II after they've had 15, 12, whenever they decided to pick it up, however many games was that at the time. They've had that many games to establish that Final Fantasy plays a certain way, and it's just a different story with more or less the same system with tweaks that make each one a little bit unique and fun, right? And then when you come to Final Fantasy II, it was their innovative game. Now, this is not unlike Legend of Zelda 2, in the same sense where everybody considers Legend of Zelda 2 to be the worst of all the Legend of Zelda games, but when you actually figure out how it wants you to play it, it's a pretty sick fucking game. Different person was given reins to produce it, right, and it was an innovative move. You can tell. Final Fantasy II was trying to change things up and shake things up enough that caused people to be like, oh man, this is really crazy. Like, this is new and innovative, and this is really intelligent, and I like the way that this works. I think it does say something that even at the time, when the game launched, it didn't have a lot of love, and they went and they changed the way they did it again. The fact that this playstyle didn't survive has to say something. But then again, it did survive. We see it in Elder Scrolls Morrowind. FF2 on paper is a brilliant game. I can see that. I think it's genius. I think from the information I have so far, some things went seriously wrong between design, brief, and code. Yeah, that's usually where things do go wrong in the earlier games. I think from the information I have so far and what I've played and done, my biggest complaint so far is that I like this part, right? Okay, god damn it. So I like this. If you use a sword and a shield, you get better with a sword and shield. I love that. I think that's very good, and I'm actually blown away, because I thought Elder Scrolls was the first one to do that. So it's cool for me to learn that Final Fantasy II actually beat them doing that by a long shot. I like that. What I don't like is HP. The fact that getting hit equates to how much health you gain. That's the part I don't like. Is just give me a raw HP value based on, like, so if I level up sword and shields, right? That means I'm kind of gonna kind of be a tank. So the level that I have in sword and the level I have in shield generates a percentage of HP gain, and then the battle axe and the spear generates an element. But if I have high levels of staff, that means I'm going to be a mage, so then generate less HP for me. The HP is my only complaint right now. That's not good. Getting hit to gain HP, I don't like that, because what I'm learning is armor's bad. Armor's bad. And just from a lore standpoint, because you are playing a role-playing game, I should be like, yes, I am a heavily armored warrior, and I'm going to defend myself. You can't role-play that, because you're like, I kind of have to be a masochistic, like, crazy barbarian who likes getting hit so that I can have the health to survive the fights in this game. This remake